Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86. Here you will find everything from your favorite characters, from anime, series, or movies, such as figures, statues, trading cards, and other limited special edition items. I will show you everything that is included. For example, we will discuss the design of the box, how it's packaged, the design of the figure, the articulation points, the accessories that are included, and we will see our favorite characters in special scenes. And you never know, you might see other characters make special guest appearances, so you can decide whether it's worth getting or not. Subscribe and join me on new weekly adventures. Now let's start the show. Let's go. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86, and today from Marvel and Hot Toys I present to you Sam Wilson as Captain America, aka Anthony Mackie. And this is how the box is packaged. Upon removing the package from the brown box, you are immediately greeted with this cutout of Anthony Mackie, also known as Sam Wilson. In the center, it basically tells you this is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and this is the Captain America as how he showed up at the end of that series. So here's a close-up of him, and then you have the 3 red stripes. And in case you was wondering, all that stone wall background right from the left side is basically very rugged to give the box a 2-tone layer design. So you have a smooth surface and a rough surface. So everything with the stone type background is actually rugged. Looking at the box on the side, there isn't really much to look at. Even though we didn't get to see much of it in the series, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I would have really loved to have seen it have more airtime, but it is what it is. Hopefully we get a couple scenes of him wearing that outfit in the new movie. On the back side you have the warnings, the credits and everything. Not really decorative to what I was expecting. You just have the 3 black lines, which basically reminds me of a Dodge commercial. Then you have kind of like the background layer, and all that area is actually smooth. On the side of the box you basically have a continuation of Sam's picture. Then in the middle it says the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, followed by Captain America, and then I think those 2 symbols are supposed to resemble the wings. Upon removing the protective layer, now you can see the figure looking through the window. So you see Captain America, the shield, the wings are behind him, and then the different hand gestures. And then the box is basically red with white. So there isn't too much decoration on this box. This one's actually also plain, similar to the one we saw of Steve Rogers as Captain America. If you didn't check out that video, I suggest you go and watch it, just so you have a comparison between the 2 Captain Americas. You only get 1 head sculpture of Anthony Mackie, which I think the new one gives you 3 different head sculptures. You have the one of Anthony Mackie, then it's got one with the helmet, which those helmets are all starting to look like Ant-Man helmets. If you remember from the movie Endgame, even those helmets that they used were based off Ant-Man. And the one that coming with the new Captain America is no exception. To me, it just looks like a different overspray of the Ant-Man helmet. Going around the back, you have some more symbols there, and it's just basically plain. I feel like they could have did a little bit more decorating on the box. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you think this box is really subtle. I feel like they did the same thing of the Steve Rogers that was featured in Endgame. I think they could have did some more decorative pieces for these boxes, similar to how they did Carnage. You remember in that one it had close-up shots and scenes from the movie, it had hidden messages and text, but this one is just plain. And same thing with the Steve Rogers from Endgame. I think they could have did a bunch of little scenes and stuff like that, had some quotes from the movie and all that. On this one I feel that Hot Toys missed their mark as far as the presentation goes. Upon removing Sam from the box, he comes packaged in 2 blister packs as you see here. So the first one's got the figure, it's got Red Wing, the shield, it's got a gray piece that holds the wings, and then for the second blister pack it's got the wings, and they look huge. So we're not getting any new expressions, and we don't have that many accessories other than the shield and the wings. So they kept this figure pretty basic as far as I can tell so far. Here's a close-up of the instructions. So this is the presentation. It says the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. On the second section it shows you the articulating points of Sam, which they look a lot better than what we saw on the Steve Rogers Captain America. Then it tells you the articulating points of the wing, And those wings, they're really huge, but they also feel fragile. Then it shows you how to attach the shield and then how to attach the wings. And it follows the same steps as it did with Steve Rogers on attaching the shield. On the back side, it shows you how to remove the wings and how to attach the shield on the back. Then it shows you how to attach Red Wing and Captain America on the stand. At the end, it shows you that you cannot remove the outfit, and then it gives you a bunch of warnings. So this is the 360 of Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson as Captain America, straight out of the box. For first thoughts, I'm really liking the character design of this Captain America. I really like how they decorated the figure with the white and the blue, and then you just have the red on the abdominals, which it follows the same pattern that Steve Rogers outfits usually do. The stripes, the red and white stripes, are usually left for the abdominals, and then the rest of it is just blue with stars, which is basically what you're seeing here. The only key difference here is that for me, this outfit pops way more than the one that Steve Rogers wears. Then the second thing is you have that headpiece that kind of goes into Sam's face. Then on the back side, he's got the gadget that houses the wings, which they're phenomenal, and we'll get to that later. But overall, I really like the combination of the dark blue along with the white. It really makes this figure pop compared to the ones that we saw from Captain America as Steve Rogers. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. One thing to note, the material is very similar to the one that we saw on Steve Rogers. It follows the same formula. You got the shoulder pads, so we already know he's going to be limited on the shoulder movements. The only key difference here is that the pieces that are going on the forearms and on the feet for the boots, those are hard plastic. Whereas Steve Rogers, it was just part of the leather. Whereas Steve Rogers, it was just part of the suit. The other thing is that this one has more plastic pieces. The other thing that I noticed is he seems to have more material towards the waist of the pants, and same thing as far as the arms go. So hopefully the articulation has bigger range than the one that we saw from Steve Rogers. But overall, the suit looks very amazing. He looks very sharp. And honestly, comparing it to the outfit that Sam wears in the new Captain America movie, honestly, to me, this one's better. This one, I feel like it has its own identity, where the other one in the new movie is a little bit more of a 5.0 of Steve Rogers. It's basically like the 5.0 version of the next generation of suits that Steve Rogers would have worn. But we'll see until we see the movie. Maybe that outfit will grow on me. But so far, I really like this figure. I like the design cues that it has, and I like the appearance of it. It really makes the character pop. Follow me on IG at Titandel86. Let me know in the comments what is your thoughts on this new Captain America. One thing to note about this suit, he looks really nice and clean, especially with the white details of the suit. But keep in mind, if it gets dirty, good luck trying to clean it. Especially if you touch the figure, get stains on it. I'm very sure you will have a difficulty time cleaning off those stains. So when posting the figure or interacting with the figure in any type of fashion, just make sure that your hands are clear, just to avoid staining it, because he looks really clean and it would really suck if you put like ketchup stains or whatever, right? Now let's check out what articulations come with this Captain America. So he's got good side-to-side movement. This is as low as you can see, and this is as high. So he's somewhat limited in the up and down range motion, but sideways he's pretty good. And again, like we saw with the other Captain America of Steve Rogers, because he has his shoulder pads in this area, when you see it, it interferes with the cut line. So this is why this is as far as the arms can go. So he's pretty limited, just like we saw with Steve Rogers. So this is as far as I could get the arm to go, which is a little bit less than what the instructions were saying. So that is an improvement from what we saw from Steve Rogers, where the arm rotation there was basically non-existent. And this is because if you see here, hopefully the camera can capture that, he's got that extra material, which is the same thing I kept saying in the Captain America Steve Rogers video, for those of you that watched that video. I'm leaving a link in the comments so you can go check out my review of Steve Rogers as Captain America. And same thing as you see here. You can see that extra material, which is what's helping this Captain America move the arms. So that is an improvement from Steve Rogers Captain America. This is as far back as it goes. Here's the elbow. He does have the ability to rotate the bicep, but same as we saw with Steve Rogers, it's very limited. He has a little bit of side-to-side movement, but it's almost non-existent. You do get 180 out of the wrist. He's got some good up and down. I wasn't expecting this. He's got chest movement, which is way better than what we saw from Steve Rogers. He has a little bit of torsion as well. A little bit of improvement on the leg movement. This is as high as I could get the leg to go. Way better than Captain America, Steve Rogers. And similar to the back, not a whole lot there. Here's your leg split, and this is as far as the legs go. And again, that is because we have more material in the pants as well for those joints, which is overall an improvement. Here's the knee movement, very good as expected. This is as far down as the ankles go. This is as far high. He does have side to side movement. So inboard, outboard, no toe movement. And you could probably get 180 out of it, but you're limited because of how the boot is shaped. So overall, the articulations are better than what we saw with Steve Rogers, but it follows the same formula. He's still very limited on the arms. We did see an improvement on the chest movement and on the leg movement, but it's very limited still. The articulating points are very similar to what we saw on the Deadpool. And that is it. Here's a close-up of the main accessories that come with this Captain America. So here's a close-up of the giant wing, the shield, and then really the only thing that really has some intricate details is Red Wing. So if you look closely, you can see all the little details that little gadget has. As far as the base goes, it's basically very plain. It just gives you the title of the series, and that's basically it. Honestly, I feel like they could have tried more. This is kind of the same level that they did with the Steve Rogers one as well. But the only thing amazing here are the details on those wings. Hopefully the camera can capture those details for you. Here's a close-up of the pincers for the stand. So as you can see, it's the same style that we saw on the Deadpool. And if you look inside the pincers, it's got that foam piece around the edges, and same thing for the bottom, so it doesn't damage the figure. I was hoping to get a stand similar to the one that came with Steve Rogers, but because Sam has the ability to fly, since he used to be the Falcon, I think they went this way so you could display the figure in the air. For this scene, I have the shield returning back to Captain America. If you recall from the movies, he uses the shield to attack enemies, but it bounces back like a boomerang. So on this one, Sam is ready to capture the shield. On this one, hopefully the camera can capture the likeliness of Anthony Mackie, which is something that attracted me to this figure. The head sculpture really depicts Anthony Mackie as he's been appearing in the movies and how he appeared in the series. One thing to note, the only thing that I didn't like about this suit is that you're not able to remove the goggles or the headpieces, so you can get a clear shot of his head sculpture. Everything else, it seems like it's molded as part of the sculpture or is glued after the thought. And I think that was the case for the goggles, because if you look closely, hopefully the camera can capture that, you could actually see his eyes inside of them, which is actually a really cool detail that maybe the camera might not capture for you. But overall, the details are superb. They're all captured there as I was expecting, which is why I ended up getting this figure from Hot Toys. And honestly, it depicts him movie accurate as he appeared in the series towards the end, which really sucks because I was hoping to see more scenes with him wearing the outfit, but they basically left it for the last episode, which is the same recurring theme in all the mini-series that came out of Marvel. In all those series, the character doesn't really have their actual suit until the last episode, and this one was no exception. But it would have been cool if he would have showed up with it earlier. Like that, he would have gotten more screen time wearing the suit. But he looks really amazing wearing it. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. And just to prove it out, the articulations on this figure were a lot better than what I was expecting. For starters, we did get more of the arm movement. So giving the figure that extra material tucked in the shoulders and also and the pants by the waist area. It allows for Sam to have more range of movement. And the other thing is, on this one you can actually articulate them by the abdominals, and you're also getting a good head movement, unlike the version of Steve Rogers from Endgame, where on that one the face didn't really move because it was attached to the neck as one piece. But on this one, the head and the neck are two different pieces, so it allows for Anthony to have the rotations and also the ability to look up and down. The one thing I would have liked to have seen more on this figure would have been more expressions of Anthony Mackie. I think by narrowing it down to just one, it makes it a little bit difficult if you're trying to do those action poses. But then again, as limited as these Hot Toys figures are in the range of movement, you wouldn't have really been able to get a really good actionable pose. But at least the details and the character design are there. He looks really sharp in this outfit. Don't forget to follow me on IG at Titandel86. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts. The other thing is on the shield, this is basically a perfect conditional shield. And if you remember closely from the one that I showed from Captain America in Endgame, the shield is slightly different. For starters, it doesn't have the spray on dirt on it, because in theory this isn't the battle damage outfit from this Captain America, so it makes sense that the suit is nice and clean. But the shield's got like if you look at it on the silver piece by the ring, it's got like a secondary ring in there that is actually not present in the Steve Rogers shield. So I think this one was exclusive to Anthony Mackie, even though it's supposed to be the same shield. So that part to me doesn't make sense why the shield will have an extra ring there. If someone knows in the comments, let me know. For this scene, I attached the wings to Sam just so you can see how massive and huge these wings are. So these are the wings and their full extended form. I also attached red wing there so you can see the figure. For this one, I have Sam looking to his right just for a really cool pose, and he's wearing the shield on the right hand arm, just so you can see the figure in this full entirety. So I present to you Anthony Mackie as Captain America. This figure looks really amazing. The details are superb. I can't say that enough. For attaching the shield, it's the same thing I described to you for attaching it to Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans. It's the same thing. Basically, take the buckle out of the shield, attach it to the wrist, attach the wrist to the forearm, then unbuckle the strap that goes on the forearm, then attach the shield by buckling it back to the buckle that is on the wrist, and then finish it off by putting the one in the forearm. It's the same steps. I just didn't follow the same instructions like it was asking for. And the reason behind that is because on this figure, like the other Captain America figure, is no exception, attaching the wrist is very difficult. So that way, so you're not messing around with it, and chances are by that time you want to swap out the wrist, you probably have the wings on them. And one thing is, because the wings are really massive and huge, it weights the figure down, and it also makes it somewhat fragile, so you don't want to be struggling with the wrist and then all of a sudden the wings hit something that you were not expecting and then you break them, which that would really suck. But overall, the figure looks 1,000 times better in person, especially once you put the wings on him. And the shield is the added icing on the cake. He just looks very amazing, as you can see here. You can just hear the background music of the Captain America theme from the Marvel movies, which obviously here I cannot play for obvious reasons. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. But I'm really liking the details on the figure. The other thing is the wings also have their own types of articulating points on it. They go from side to side and all that stuff, so I'll show you those scenes later of what you can do with the wings. Just be very mindful that now, because of the wings, you have to be careful of how you balance the figure, or else he will fall flat on his back. The Red Wing figure or gadget, there isn't much you can do with it. It just comes to the stand and you attach to it. It's just a very piece of plastic. It doesn't have any articulating points or anything. It's just plain. The only thing that it does have is a cool paint job, which matches the paint job that is used on Anthony Mackie's wings. Follow me on IG at Titandel86. Another new figure of Anthony Mackie as Captain America has shown up as a Hot Toys figure for the upcoming movie Brave New World. And that one, if you look at the screenshots of the stock photos, They're really emphasizing not on the movements, if you notice closely. In having these Captain America figures, I can see why in the stock pictures they don't really show them moving the arms too much, because they all share the same shoulder pads, go figure. But the wings, they're trying to express the wings as more articulated. But I think the only difference between this Captain America and the new one is the articulating points on the wings. I think they just added a little bit more movement towards the tips of them. Because if you look at the pictures, you will see that I'm getting almost exactly the same movements, which I'll show you later. But honestly, to me, the wings just kind of offset this figure on its league of its own. And then the big design that he has, the way they decorated the shoulders, the chest, and have the white lines integrated into the arms and the legs, to me, that's just amazing. It really makes this character design and the figure look 1,000 times better in person. It's just phenomenal, honestly. The only drawback is that the Sam figure is not as delicate. It's similar to the Steve Rogers one, but once you add the wings on it, you kind of make it into a delicate figure. But other than that, it's a really good figure to have. For this scene, I have Captain America ready to strike one of his enemies. As you can see, he's using the shield in the right wing to shield himself as he prepares to do the counter strike with the left hook. So in this one, I kind of have him dashing in mid-air. I also did this scene just so you can see the articulating points of the wings, just to see what they will look like on the figure itself. And just to show you how the wing articulation points compare to the new Hot Toys figure in regards to the new movie, Captain America, Brave New World, you can kind of see that in that figure, it probably has a little bit more articulating points towards the wings that you're not seeing on this particular Captain America. But other than that, I think the wings are going to be very similar. The other thing that I think the new Captain America figure might do better is the expression of Anthony Mackie. In that one, you actually get a full view of the face sculpture, where in this one it's only partially. But to me, this one looks 1,000 times better as far as the suit goes, along with the color coordination. Where in the other one, it feels more of a Steve Rogers outfit, which is more plain and subtle. And honestly, in some of those, it kind of looks a little bit like something's off or missing. Obviously, the wings round up the figure, but they do the same thing here, as you can see. To me, appearance-wise, this figure looks 1,000 times better than that new one. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts. Are you liking this character design better, or are you liking the new one as represented in New World Order? Plus, I'm not sure, it seems like something's off in that hip sculpture of Anthony Mackie. For some reason, he looks a little bit different than on this one, which I think this one resembles the character a little bit more than the other one does. Let me know in the comments. I just can't put my thumbs on it, but something's a little bit off. Or maybe it's just something that they missed out on the sculpture that I'm not quite seeing here. If I had to take a guess, it's something with that mustache. I don't know if this one has got like a little subtle mustache, where on the new one it's got a more detailed mustache, which just makes it a little bit pop more on the character. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts. One thing to note, even though the stand is a little bit more heavy duty than the typical ones that we see in the figures, for example the ones that come with S.H.Figuarts or even the Senseiya figures, on this one I kind of reached its limit because I wanted to portray Sam doing aerial attacks, but because the length of the stem on the stand is so limited, you can only do so much things because this figure is really tall as well, so it doesn't take that into account. So if you're trying to do aerial shots, they're not going to be like super high off the air. And the other thing is, depending on the type of angles that you're picking as far as poses that Captain America is doing in relationship to how you're twisting the stem of the stand, you're going to have some balancing issues where the stand is going to try to tip over. So just as you see here, the stem of the stand kind of has an S shape to it, but it's basically at its limit. This was the closest that I could portray Sam doing an aerial attack. The other thing is that the clipping point for the figure, that piece tended to rotate a lot around the stem, so depending on how the weight of the figure was distributed, it would cause the clipping point of the pincers to rotate around the stem, and then I wouldn't get the right angle, and then it would off balance the whole stand, so it would cause it to fall. So this one was kind of pushing the limits of the stand. Just as some awareness, I know in the stock photos they show him flying through the air and all that stuff with the figure being attached to the stem and the stand, but I doubt you're going to get some of those really good angles. I'm very sure they photoshopped their angles and all that to give you different perspectives, because that stand is very limited if you're trying to do aerial poses such as the one you see here. So my advice here is, if you're going to portray Sam doing some type of aerial attack or whatever, you're really going to have to evaluate getting a different type of base or adding more retention points or trying to figure out a safe balanced one that you're not stressing out the base or the stem or the attachment feature. For this scene, I have Sam about to lift off into the air. Again, I have him in the air, and this time I put both wings all the way down and put them all the way forward, just so you can see more of the articulation that come with the wings. On this one, I also attached the shield on the back side. He does come with a little plastic piece that attaches on the back of the backpack. That only works if you have the wings in the flat position, which would have been the all open position. As you see here, the wings are already in a tilted position, so it wouldn't allow that piece to hold the shield. But if you look at it closely, you could actually just rest the shield on it too, because it's got the stripes, it's wide enough, and then the two flat angles that you get from the wings, it basically allows the shield to sit perfectly fine without actually using the piece. But if you want to display the figure with the shield on the back, just use the regular plastic piece that came with it, insert it into it, and you get the same effect really. So what I did here is just basically prop the wings down, because you get a good 360 out of them from how they attach to the ball joints on the back of Sam. So with that, you can articulate the wings up and down any basically orientation that you want. Just be mindful that you're not overstressing it to where you're hitting the arms of Sam or the legs or his body in general. Also, if you overextend them, you just pop them out of the socket. And be mindful, because they are able to intersect on the back piece, so you don't want to have that either. So I did this one just so you can see how it will look compared to the stock photos that they released from the new Captain America. And I did that just in case you're on the fence on pre-ordering the new figure. That way you can see what kind of angles and rotations you're getting out of this particular Sam versus that new upcoming. And so far, I think if you really wanted to, you could probably recreate all the stock photos. The only key difference that I saw in that figure versus this one is the articulating points on the tips of the wings. Other than that, it seems like they follow the same formula. But obviously, it's the big thing that counts is the character design. Are you liking that new outfit? Are you liking the new head sculpture of Anthony Mackie? We got more articulating points than I was expecting to begin with. And the shield's the same. And overall, the figure's gonna have very same similarities to all these Captain America figures. And that is the one key thing here. Even though this is Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson as Captain America, the same DNA that they used for this figure is the same one that we found in the last video I did of Captain America as Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans. It's literally the same formula. The only difference is that you got more material on the shoulders and on the legs, so you can do a bigger range movement for the legs and the arms. Other than that, it's the same formula. I think even the same hand gestures you got for the most part. Big key difference is the outfit. I would say 80% of the outfit techniques that they used on that Captain America by Steve Rogers is very similar to the same one that you see in here. The only obvious differences are what separates Sam's Captain America from Steve Rogers' Captain America. I think to me, this Captain America looks perfect as it is. I really like the way they sculpted it. I love the way the character is designed. You have a good mix of the blue and the white on the figure. It really makes the figure pop when you put this Captain America next to the Steve Rogers versions. For this one, I feel like your eyes would gravitate more towards it than the other Steve Rogers figures. If you're looking for Sam Wilson as Captain America, I would say right now, in my eyes, this is the best one out there. I just hope you have enough shelf space for it if you want to put the wings in their full extended mode, because they are really wide. This is all I have for you today. If you like what you have seen, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I'll see you next week with a brand new one. Thank you and bye.